Good evening. I'm Tom Brokaw, and I find it a personal privilege to be with all of you tonight about such an important mission that we have as citizens, as residents of Montana, and as people who will only have a short time on this great planet, and so we should make the most of it. Obviously, we're meeting at a time of great stress, great challenge, and an uncertain future, which makes it in many ways all the more intriguing, all the more exciting to be a part of all of this. Because what you're doing is preserving the past. And by preserving the past, we can learn about what we can expect in the future. I've been a journalist for more than 60 years, and this is the most complex time I have ever been through, both from a scientific point of view with the COVID virus, from a political point of view with what's going on, not just in this country, but around the world. And then as well, because of the uncertainty of where all of this will end, which we cannot say at this point. Meredith and I first came to Montana more than 30 years ago, and we did a backpacking trip up on the Scapegoat. And it was the beginning of a romance. We began to fall in love with it because we didn't have a full appreciation at that point of the great variety of Montana. Did know about it, I suppose, scholastically, but we did have the advantage of having grown up in South Dakota, so we were not that far away. And I grew up on the Missouri River, which of course drained the great state of Montana. And as a teenager, I spent so many days on hands and knees crawling across a floodplain and gathering Indian artifacts and fossils from that long ago time. And it then gave me this connection, I think, to Montana. Now, of course, we're going through a different kind of challenge. So the museum that you are so generously supporting now is important, not just as a place for tourists to come and stand in awe, but it's also a place that we have to think of as the continuity of education. We'll be learning a lot, we hope, during this episode of the COVID virus. And we'll also take that education and apply it to the exhibits that you are supporting. We'll learn more about them. These are difficult times now, but there were difficult times then as well. People forget that we had the great flu epidemic, for example, of 1918, which was a disastrous time. But most of all, I think the museum is a place where we can come together as citizens, wherever we come from, whatever our financial status may be, whatever our ideological status and interest may be, and find a way to preserve the past, because it is from the past that we learn how to deal with the future. And it's not just a collection of bones in Bozeman, Montana. It really is a portrait of history. You stop and think about it. Many of the exhibits that you are supporting seem to us to be really part of the ancient past, but they were so much more than that. They were really a key to what was going on then and what it led to now. And in anything that we do in life, whether it's personal planning or our business or how we raise our family, we need to know what happened in the past and what mistakes were made, how we can avoid them again. And your support here for this museum helps us do just that. We'll be gone 100 years from now, but people will still be coming to this museum at that time to find out what happened 80 years ago from now, and especially what happened during this period. I'm on the board of the Museum of Natural History in New York, and as many of you know, it is one of the great scientific institutions in the world. It's been a very challenging time, first of all, just to keep it up and running and to plan for the future. We have on the 5th floor of the museum in New York, effectively a great college where scientific work is being done every day for academic credit and also for the opportunity to expand man and woman's understanding of the world that we are a part of. We think that we are living, this is terribly characteristic, of course, of all human vanity. We think we're living during the most important times. and that history will look back and see how we handled the challenge. I hope that history will be able to look back and say they got together, they linked arms, and they found a way to expand the scientific reality of what this museum presents and exhibits, and those around us, not just in the West, but around the world. There is only one planet Earth, and it's part of our obligation to make the most of it while it is going, especially during a time of great trauma like this. Your presence there tonight means that you are part of that army, that you've stepped up, that you want to help mankind understand what we're going through. Your children, grandchildren, and succeeding generations will be absolutely the beneficiaries of the contributions and your commitment to what is going on. So what I want to do is wish you all the best, and remember, this is just one night out of our lives. And this struggle that we're engaged in now with the COVID virus and what has happened as a result of the COVID virus with the tensions that exist in our society, we're going to have to work our way out of it. And it will be one of the greatest tests of American history, in my judgment. I don't remember as a journalist a time when we had a greater task before us than a combination of dealing with the COVID virus and with the political differences in America. And historians, our children, great-grandchildren, others will look back and say, they met the challenge. I hope they'll be able to say that. So once again, I want to just thank you for your personal contribution to all of this. And remember, this is just one night. This is going to be going on. And it's a great test of who we are, what the place of mankind is during this challenge. We have more resources than any society, any nation in the world, economic resources, scientific resources, social resources. And it will be a terrible commentary if we don't make the most of those resources and find a way to reach across the table to neighbors with whom we may disagree on other issues and say, on this, we must have common ground. We must join our minds and our hands in fighting off COVID virus, and most of all, preparing the future for the possibility of another assault. So we'll know better next time what we should be doing. So I just am thrilled to be a part of all of this, and I'm so absolutely proud of all of you for being there. I spent a lot of my time in Montana. I live in New York. I grew up in South Dakota, and yet Montana has a hugely important part of our lives, our children and our grandchildren as well. And your presence there tonight is reaffirmation to me about the great citizenship of the people who live in Montana and all their interests that they bring to the preservation of the future. I wish you all the best. I'm not going to get involved in whether it should be Montana State or the University of Montana in the football season. I'll leave that to you. I wish you all the best.